Welcome to a fresh edition of Epic Mornings. Epic Fellowship Church is a new teaching ministry based out of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, that is empowering people in Christ. Epic Mornings is the perfect start to an amazing day. Grab a cup of coffee, get your Bible, and prepare to be uplifted and encouraged. Now, let's get into the living Word of God. Epic Mornings. Say hello to your host.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome, Epic Fellowship Church family and friends of Epic. It is Epic Mornings with Pastor Jay. We are in Proverbs, chapter number 18. It has been such an amazing journey going through Proverbs, a chapter at a time. It's been good. It's been sobering. It's been all of those things, right? So in chapter 18, Solomon comes on out the gate talking about unfriendly people care only about themselves and they lash out at common sense. Good morning, Minister Stacy. The very first verse, he comes out the gate talking about us. Us. Just as Paul talked about us in Ephesians, helping grow us up. Solomon is helping us grow up in Proverbs as well. He says, let's go ahead and get this party started so that by the time we get to the New Testament, we ought to know better, be better, sound better, act better, all of the betters. So the very first verse, he talks about unfriendly people. Care only about themselves. They lash out at common sense. How many times have you run into someone? How many times have you run into someone that is professing to be Christian or is a kingdom citizen, says that they're a kingdom citizen, but yet they're unfriendly? One of the things that I've learned is that it does not take much to negate your witness, because everybody knows what you're supposed to be doing, whether you know or not. That's that. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. There are times when you just need to hush up. Just hush up. Just be quiet and listen to what's going on. In chapter 18, this seems to be a theme that Solomon has. Listen, hush your mouth. Listen. Doing wrong leads to disgrace, and scandalous behavior brings contempt. Scandalous can be relative based on situations. What could be a scandalous behavior for you? Depending upon where you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and who you're around. One of the things that I try to remember on a regular basis is that it don't matter if ain't nobody else around, God is around. And he knows what I'm doing. The blessing is that God knew before the foundation of the earth where I was going to be and what I was going to be doing. Wise words are like deep waters. Wisdom flows from the wise like a bubbling brook. Wise words can be refreshing. Operating in wisdom changes how it feels and it looks to those that you encounter. Use them. It is not right to acquit the guilty or deny justice to the innocent. We see this as a problem regularly, whether it's in our church or in our justice systems. We see these things happening. So Solomon is calling our attention to it, even now. we've seen guilty parties be acquitted, and we've seen innocent people incarcerated for crimes that they didn't even commit. Be mindful that you're not a person that allows the guilty party to get away while crucifying the innocent person. There are times that the innocent person is just the person that happened to be in the room. They might not have said a word, but somehow they end up on the cross just like the guilty person does, or possibly quicker because we think we know the other person. Fools' words get them into constant quarrels, and they are asking for a beating. When I read that that one, that's verse number 6. I was like, they asking for a beating. How many times have you said that to your babies? You looking for a beating? You itching for a beating? You asking for it? It's been a minute. I might need to tighten you up because you getting into too much. There are times that I promise that God probably thinks the exact same thing about us. You know, I know for a fact that God is probably somewhere saying, you trying to get a beating? Didn't I tell you not to go there? Didn't I tell you not to hang out with that person or this person or whatever? You asking for a beating? Stacy, I know that message version, and I'm gonna go back and read it later. But I'm gonna use the NLT for this morning. The mouths of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips. Solomon continuously talks about fools and their mouth. Let's not be the fool and the mouth. Because a lot of times I often this is the one that always comes to mind when I think about it. When you in your life and you're going through life and you see a group of guys per se, and it's always the foolish one that got something to say first. He didn't think about that thing he was getting ready to say. He did not think about that thing. Because there are times that even the other guys that with him are like, man, did you just say that? So we have to be mindful how we say things so that we don't come to ruin. Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart. A lazy person is as bad as someone who destroys things. Because if you're not building up a thing, then what are you doing to it? The name of the Lord is a strong fortress. The godly run to him and are safe. That speaks for itself. We find safety in the Lord. The rich think of their wealth as a strong defense. They imagine it to be a high wall of safety. And then one of the commentaries says, in imagining that their wealth is their strongest defense, rich people are sadly mistaken. Money cannot guarantee safety. It can lose its power in too many ways. The government may cease to back it, thieves may steal it, inflation may rob it of all the value, but God never loses his power. So instead of putting all of your oomph behind your money, you better put all of that same chutzpah behind God, being a part of him, knowing who he is, how he fits into your life, so that when the money is gone, you don't want to kill yourself. I can remember my father used to say back in the day, some people, there was a group of people that if they were to lose everything, they would kill themselves. But he would often say that Black people didn't have that. We were poor from the start. So we just go back to what we know. And we're not going to die because the money's gone. We're not going to quit, cave in, or give up because the money's gone. Because we also understand how it is not to have money. And I used to think that was so interesting that he would say that. But as I've grown older, I realized that there's some truth to that. There are people that put so much stock into their wealth, their money, their status, that they fail to realize that in God we can do everything, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. All things, not some things, not have money, don't have money. I can do all that, money or not, because my allegiance is to God and not the money. Haughtiness goes before destruction, and humility precedes honor. I was like, okay, you often hear the word haughty, and it talks about in the dictionary, it says blatantly and disdainfully proud. And then humility is freedom from pride and arrogance. Have you ever just known that you could do a thing and you took great pride in doing that thing? And because you knew that you could do it so good, you were arrogant in it as well. And something happened. And that very thing that you put all your stock in is taken away from you. Now what? When you walk in humility, you're not arrogant and prideful in whatever the thing may be. You're excited about being gifted to be able to do that. But the gift doesn't run you. You run the gift. You're not so arrogant in your ability to sing, because it's a gift that's been given to you by God. So you don't get prideful and arrogant about the fact that you can. You get excited about the fact that it's a gift and you can use it to honor God, and you operate in the humility of it. Verse 13, spouting off before listening to the facts is both shameful and foolish. The human spirit can endure a sick body, but who can bear a crushed spirit? Even if you're sick in your body and your spirit is healthy and it's good, and you understand who God is and you're excited about that thing, you can bear your body not necessarily being up to 100%. But if your spirit is crushed and your body is broken, it is difficult to pull yourself up out of that place that you get into. It's harder to pull yourself out. Intelligent people are always ready to learn. Their ears are open for knowledge. When you have the desire to know more, then you go seek out that information. And here Solomon talks about that's the intelligent person. And you're always listening to learn more from those that you are around or those that you encounter, because we don't know everything. But he's pretty much saying that, listen, if you got some intelligence, you're going to be willing to listen to some other sources and gain even more knowledge. Does that mean that it's that much more credible? No. Sometimes we just learn more from a different source, because it depends on our learning style. Some of us are readers, some of us are audio readers. I can read a book because I like to turn the pages, but I have friends that they love audio books because they like to listen. But the intelligent ideas that we desire can be found in other places, so we just need to listen. We're always ready to learn. I believe that when you desire to learn more, you do learn more. So I think that's what he means when he talks about intelligent people. Giving a gift can open doors. It gives access to important people. Sharing your gift with those that you encounter gives you access to additional people. When you go to a place, say you go to a networking event, you talk to people, you listen to people, sharing what you know. That's you. That's your gift. You bring it into the room. There are times that doors will be open for you just because you spoke up about a thing, and it struck a chord with somebody that might be in the room. Giving your gift can help you. The first to speak in court sounds right until the cross examination begins. Oh my goodness. When I read this, I thought, wow. And I immediately thought of a courtroom where they bring in an expert witness. Okay, the prosecution may bring in an expert witness on whatever the situation may be. And then the defense steps up, starts to question them about certain things. How did you get here? What are your credentials? All of those things. They sound like they know what they're talking about until their worthiness is called into question by the defense, which is what the defense's job is, to cross-examine. Even the prosecution, when the defense brings a person forward, they cross-examine them. And they say everything sounds real, real good until somebody comes up and asks them some questions. Ask them how they arrived at that particular answer, or how did they arrive at that particular place in this particular case. That was good to me. Flipping a coin can end arguments. It settles disputes between powerful opponents. I immediately thought about last night. At the beginning of the game, they flipped the coin to figure out who was going to do what, heads or tails. Then when they got tired and went into overtime, they did it again. This chooses who's going to go first. And it's a fairer way than just pointing and picking. Tossing the coin gives each person an opportunity to go first. An offended friend is harder to win back than a fortified city. Arguments can separate friends like a gate locked with bars. How many times have you been offended by someone? And even though you might still hang out with them, they're not as in your corner as they once were before, because they were offended. Or it could possibly be you. You were offended by something that they said or did. So you might still hang out with them, but they haven't won you back fully because of what they did or said to you that offended you. And when you are offended, you don't always hear and listen to all of the facts before you go off half cocked, because they offended you before. So you really don't have any stock in them anymore. You no longer are in tune and loyal to them as you once were because of the offense. Wise words satisfy like a good meal. The right words bring satisfaction. We've talked about these words over and over and over. Solomon has managed to throw this thing in here in just about every single proverb. The tongue can bring death or life, and those who talk will reap the consequences. You are going to reap the consequences of what you say. So, might I suggest that you say some good stuff so that your consequences will be good and not broken down. The man who finds a wife finds a treasure, and he receives favor from the Lord. That speaks for itself. But every woman is not a wife. That's all I'm going to say about that. The poor plead for mercy, and the rich answer with insults. There are friends who destroy each other, but a real friend sticks closer than a brother. A real friend will work towards getting past even the offense when they're a real friend. because they already know that you are not going to be the person that's working to cause them harm. That's how you manage to know a real friend. So, what we have to do is we have to get the facts before we make a decision. We have to be open to new ideas, and we have to make sure that we hear both sides of a story before we try to make a judgment call. And if your friend offends you, go to them and have a conversation about it instead of allowing the offense to tear down your friendship. Too often, we will allow things that can be resolved by having a conversation to go on and on and on and on until the friendship or the relationship is irreparably damaged. Wise words are, I need to have a conversation with you because you said something that offended me. That is a wise, those are wise words because you're seeking to get clarity so that you are not, the relationship is not irreparably damaged and broken. Solomon continues to talk to us about our wise words. He continues to talk to us about watching our mouths. He continues to talk to us about not allowing our pride to mess things up. And sometimes we just got to say, listen, I don't know that you meant it the way you said it. So I need to tell you what I heard you say. And we need to have a conversation if that's what you meant. Sometimes everything can be clarified, squashed, put aside if we just have a wise word conversation. And when you value the relationship, that is what you will do. And for those folk that love text messaging, there are times that text messages are not how to have those conversations because I can take a text message and spin it any way I want to versus actually hearing and seeing you having a conversation with me. I hear the tone. I see your facial expressions. I see your nonverbal communication. And I get a firmer and greater understanding of what it is that you were trying to say versus what I heard. Because how many of you know that sometimes we hear stuff that people didn't even say? We hear stuff that they didn't say. You know, Pastor Stacy, you're right about this. Some people hide behind text messages when really a good conversation would change the outcome of the situation. And it helps us to operate better. There are times that you just have to have a conversation. And the other thing is when we are dealing with others, how much does it mean to you to have a conversation so that nobody operates in offense? And it's clearly articulated about what it is that we need to be doing and where and how. So that is chapter 18. I'll see you next Monday again so that we will go on into chapter 19. But one thing that Solomon remains focused on is wise words. Wise words. Speaking with wisdom. And sometimes just being wise enough to have a conversation and use your words. Okay, that's another day. That's another subject for another time. Anyway, take care. Continue to have a magnificent Monday. I pray that your day is all that it needs to be and your week is glorious. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.